Birkins have been some Birkin dupes have been sold via Walmart, and everyone is talking about, especially on TikTok. It's become all the rage and a massive trend on TikTok where people buy these Walmart Birkin dupes and they essentially kind of try to contrast and compare it to real Birkins, and they talk about, some people really like it, some people don't like it, and there's a big discussion on, is it relevant to wear dupes? Should you wear dupes? What's the morality of it? Is it a good thing to do? All those kind of questions have been brought up. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch a few TikTok videos. I'm going to react to a few videos that I've seen on TikTok of people talking about the Walmart Birkins, and then I'm going to give my actual thoughts on the whole phenomenon as it stands online. So let's see. Okay, here we go. So this is one.
My Walmart Birkin came in. It's real leather, and I paid
I will say, one thing I will say though, is that there seems to be a disconnect by the average fashion consumer in terms of, like, I feel like her saying it's real leather but it only costs $80 is almost like her trying to say that, you don't have to spend a lot of money for quality and all that stuff. But there are so many different grades of every fabric. Like, just because something is 100% leather, it doesn't actually mean anything. Like, it genuinely doesn't mean anything. I'll give you guys, this is an example I bring up all the time, but it's an easy example to understand. So in a fast fashion place, you might see something that's 100% cashmere and you're wondering, why does it make my skin itch? Why does it feel so uncomfortable? Isn't cashmere supposed to be really soft and supple and nice to touch? Well, the thing about a fabric like cashmere is that after it's sheared from the animals, like the actual fur, what actually happens is there's a treatment process. And there's a treatment process in terms of, first they have to clean these things and then they have to dry it. Now, in the cleaning process, because a lot of fast fashion companies are in a rush, they clean it with a lot of heat because it's quicker, but it damages the fabric. Then you get to the drying process. Now, when you dry cashmere, the industry standard, the way you're supposed to do it, is you're supposed to air dry it. And most times it takes around 24 hours. But with a lot of fast fashion companies, they just blast it with heat because they just want to bring this material to the next stage as quickly as possible. So they blast it with heat. So by the end of it, both of these things are 100% cashmere, but they are literally completely different materials by the end of it. Like, one has been damaged all sorts of ways in the treatment and drying process, and the other one has literally been taken care of at every stage. So by the end of it, yes, they can write in the description 100% cashmere, but it actually doesn't mean anything. So I feel like sometimes with the average consumer, there's a big disconnect where they're like, I have 100% genuine leather and you guys paid 5K for that genuine leather. Like, there's more that goes into leather really being durable and being high quality other than just the fact that it says 100% leather. So I thought I'd just flag that up from the start. Bubble wrap in a Birkin is wild work, by the way.
wrap the lock. Little figure out where it goes.
First of all, I know a lot of people are saying that these are really good dupes, which I do agree. I don't think they necessarily look completely like Birkins, because just by looking at them, the hardware looks really cheap. And it's quite obvious to most people, I would think, that it's not a real Birkin just based off the hardware alone. The leather looks really cheap also. I don't even need to touch it, I can already see. But I do think it's a good dupe. I think making a good dupe isn't actually that difficult because you can just buy the real thing and cut all the seams down and then copy the patterns. And you could literally just trace out the shapes of each component and each part of the bag and then just make a new bag. And then the quality of it just comes down to the quality of what you're actually using. So are you using high quality hardware? Are you using high quality leather? So I've actually seen, let's say, Birkin dupes that are actually better quality than Birkins themselves because it's some rich person that's making it, right? So they use the craziest of materials you've ever seen, but they want it to be a Birkin. So they get someone to construct it the exact same way, but they're using better hardware than even Hermes uses. They're using better leather than even Hermes uses. But that's not the case with the Walmart Birkins. But I think it's not that difficult to make a dupe of something. So it looking like a Birkin, I don't think that's surprising or anything like that. I think that's quite easy to do. But there seems to be this discussion online that I've seen that people are almost trying to make the argument that they are of similar quality, which I don't agree with. And you guys know I'm the person that's on the neck of luxury brands. I'm always talking about how a lot of them are taking the absolute piss and they're charging insane prices for what is really reducing quality. But I think in the case of Hermes Birkins, that definitely isn't the case. Hermes Birkins is actually one of the few things that doesn't apply to. One of the very few things.
It's Owen and Sophie, but you gotta take the little plastic. $80 for 10. You got a Birkin. I mean, everybody's gonna probably know so has money. Not me. I think it's a pretty little bag. I need some bag. I love this color. I'm a
Oh, bag charms. Wait. Let me pause. This woman, I swear she lives like the combination of like a TikTok video of talking about like a Walmart Birkin and then being like, oh, I need some bag charms. That is like all the trends on TikTok just smashed into one video. It's quite entertaining, actually. It's quite fascinating.
green bar area is green. Nice hardware.
Nice hardware, guys. Nice hardware. Are you guys looking at the same thing? Nice hardware.
My thumb's hurting, so I can't do it.
Gold tone brass.
It's pretty. It's pretty.
Nice hardware is crazy. Let's look at the comments and see what people are saying, because I feel like there tends to be, with these kind of conversations around, you know, dupes and all these things, there's the side of people that say, well, I like the design, but I want something cheaper. What I've never understood, and this is just in general, I've never understood dupe culture only because I don't understand an obsession with something so much so that if you can't afford the original, which is most of us, I mean, I can't afford a Birkin, but if I can't afford a Birkin and I just won't buy a Birkin, I'll just find another style of stuff that I like that isn't a Birkin. Or like someone said in the chat, I would find a underground artist and artisan who would make stuff that's way more affordable but a similar quality. It doesn't have to look exactly like a Birkin, because the whole point of a Birkin, it's supposed to be a more practical bag, right? So there are many interesting, nice, genuine, really high quality leather bags that you could buy for way cheaper from like an artisan somewhere, and it wouldn't even be like, maybe it might be 3 times the cost of the Walmart Birkin. Maybe it might be $300, $400, but you would get something that would last a really long time. So I've never really understood fake Birkins. And I tend to see that culturally there is this understanding that it almost feels like haha, you're stupid, you spent 10K, I bought the same bag for, you know, $100, which isn't true, because one of the reasons why people buy Birkins, apart from the fact of, you know, it being good quality and the craftsmanship, is it's a status symbol. That's the whole point of it. It's a bag that most people can't afford. It's a bag that even when you can afford it, it's still difficult to buy. It's a bag that, you know, is made by these as artisans in France. It's like all the stuff that it represents. It's not the same thing when you buy a Birkin. I don't think it's a haha moment when I've told you guys in past videos and live streams that a lot of these dupes are tied to criminal organizations sometimes. These are criminal organizations that duping is part of the fabric of their business model, and it includes things like human trafficking and stuff like that. So I don't think people actually realize, but some dupes, when you buy them, you're actually supporting human trafficking, literally, indirectly, because that money is going to that same criminal organization that then uses that money for like other atrocious things, right? So there's so many aspects to it. So you're almost like getting the aesthetic of it without the quality or without the signifiers, without the status, without any of it. It's just the bag that's terribly made. That's basically all you're getting. I've never really understood why people are so obsessed with getting specific things. And especially last year, and let's say this year, it's only been one day, I'm starting to notice that there is this, and there has always been an obsession with, you know, status symbols and all those kind of things, but recently there seems to be a quiet luxury thing is the one that really stands out to me, right? Where people literally found out last year, which shocks me till today, that there are some rich people that buy clothing that's expensive that doesn't have a logo. Because I guess a lot of people thought before then that the way that people know that your clothing is expensive is by a logo. They had no idea that, brands like Xenia and Jill Sander and all these kind of brands where there's no logo existed. And it's kind of people that are into fashion or people that are in the know can already tell what you're wearing just based on the shape of it or the silhouette or things like that, the fabrics, not necessarily a logo. And people are so obsessed with that idea of status that people have gone into what I call cosplaying and wearing wealth as a costume by being like, okay, I'm going to buy clothing that fits specifically in that quiet luxury thing, which I find really concerning. I think as a person, you should find what you like yourself, like what bags do you like, what clothing do you like, and wear that. I think wearing clothing solely because, oh my God, rich people do this, so I need to do this too, is so strange to me. It's so weird. It's so it's so odd. Like to actually observe it happening culturally is such an odd phenomenon to observe. It's so strange. But anyway, let's read some of these comments. Let's see. I'm genuinely curious. Did you think this bag was pretty before Walmart released its own version? Would you still buy it if it didn't resemble any designer bags? No judgment, just asking. Oh, G02 asking the amazing questions. Really good questions. Let's see. Someone said, this is going to take all the value from Hermès and I'm here for it. No, it's not. No, it's not. First of all, I don't know if people know this, but a big development is that Walmart has started pulling these Hermès dupes from their website because I guess they figured out once it became viral on TikTok that a massive lawsuit was coming their way. And so that slowly they started removing a lot of these styles from the website. So it's not going to take the value from Hermès at all. And even if they left it on their website, Hermès would slap them with a lawsuit, win the lawsuit, and take loads of money from Walmart. So either way, Hermès is not going to lose any money at all. So my initial thoughts as to why these are so viral on TikTok is true in terms of people seeing it as, you take this, rich people, which I don't think it's an effective way to do that. Because the reason why rich people buy the bag, it's almost like people are missing the point as to why people buy Birkins. Like people are completely missing the point. Let's see some more comments. I'm waiting for the Audi Birkin. That's funny. Imagine Audi starts making Birkins. I can't help but think Jane Birkin would have liked this bag more. I'm not too sure about that. Because Jane Birkin, the whole reason why we have the Birkin named after Jane Birkin is because she was the prototypical Hermes customer. So I don't know how Jane Birkin would possibly, prefer a Walmart Birkin. That's not, I don't think that's the take that the person thinks it is. Like, Jane Birkin is not that customer at all. Brixton said, you can buy a good looking Coach bag and be better than this bag. Yeah, 100%. And Coach, actually, for the price, I think Coach has a very good price point for their bags, considering the quality. So yeah, and that's what I don't understand once again about people being obsessed with very specific design styles. I don't get it. Because you could just buy something else. You don't have to buy a fake version of something. You could just completely buy something else. I don't understand the obsession. And to be honest, me personally, I genuinely think Birkins are ugly as hell. But that's just my own personal experience. It's not like, it's just subjective. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't like the design of it, which is why I'm trying to explain that the reason why people buy Birkins is something else. It's like Mercedes G-Wagon. I also think Mercedes G-Wagons are really ugly, but there's a specific reason why people buy it. So making a cheap version of it isn't going to change why people are going to buy it, and it's not going to affect the reason why people buy it, right? It's the same thing if, I'm trying to think of a very cheap car like if Ford came out with a car that looked exactly like the G-Wagon, no one would buy it. Like, no one would actually care. So that's the thing. Like, no one would care. That's what's so funny about it. It's like everyone's trying to look rich or like cosplay being rich as an aesthetic rather than just being themselves and being what they're into genuinely, and wearing clothing that they gravitate towards genuinely, and wearing clothing that they like, right? Like the reason why I'm wearing this Walter Van Beirendonck hat is not because I'm trying to cosplay a rich person. It's because I like Walter Van Beirendonck as a designer, and I like the design of it. I like it. It's really wacky. This like red W. The reason why I'm wearing this Rick Owens jacket that looks crazy as hell with this distressed denim is because I like the way it looks visually. It has absolutely nothing to do with cosplaying some rich person or someone else. I wish a lot of people just like actually wore what they genuinely liked and stopped trying to, you know, cosplay what other people do, if that makes sense. Yeah, let's watch another video.
The Walmart Birkin. I have the Walmart Birkin right here. I used it. I took it to Saks Fifth Avenue for ladies who lunch, and nobody clocked it, girl. This is it. This bag is available at Walmart.com for like $60-something, and a real Birkin will set you back at least $7,000. So here it is. Now let's talk about it because a lot of people want to know about it. This is the inside of the bag. I stuffed it so it can like remain its shape. I want to say this. It's not like a leather. It's more like a PVC. The hardware looks nice. Let me pop this open because right here, normally it would say Hermès.
Once he said you can literally tell that's a fake. Yeah, literally. Literally, so like the hardware gives it away immediately.
Sure in the hell does look like it. I mean, this is good.
And it also shows kind of what you guys are mentioning in the chat, like the whole nobody clocked it. That's exactly what we're saying. If you go to a place specifically to see are people clocking it, do you like the design of the bag, or are you just wearing it because you're trying to, like, once again, like rich person cosplay and then be like, oh my god, no one clocked it, like it could be a real Birkin type of thing? What's the reason why you're buying it? What's the reason? Because on this channel I promote people buying things that they like, because that way you own things for years. Like the reason why I don't buy a lot of clothing a lot of times is because I buy things that I genuinely like, so I end up owning them for 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. So if you buy things because it's a trend or because you're trying to cosplay what rich people are doing, that's a never-ending cycle, because as many of you know, historically, rich people, and we talked about this in a live stream quite recently actually, this idea that people that are wealthy or people that are upper class constantly look for ways to differentiate themselves from peasants like us, right? So how they do that is they're constantly changing. Once they see too many people adopting something, then they have to change. They have to pivot. It's the reason why, you know, I saw an Instagram video, I think it was by Jay, which was really interesting. I might put that video on the screen after actually, because I think Jay made some really good points. But I think Jay was bringing up this idea that before, it used to be a thing that if you were rich or you were wealthy, you had to be pale. If you were pale, it was a sign of wealth, because it meant that you weren't working on the field, you know, picking cotton. So that way it was quite obvious that you must have money, because you can literally just stay at home and not be under the sun. And then it switched where a lot of people, you know, work in offices and work in buildings and stuff. So being tanned became a thing, because it's now like if you're tanned, it shows that you have so much money that you have the leisure to go and start sun tanning outside, just chilling or going on holidays and stuff like that. So these things constantly change. These markers constantly change. So if your main objective is to try and do what rich people do, you'll never actually get there, because the second that you're doing it, the wealthy people have adopted something else and then you're behind, right? So that's why just buy and wear what you actually like. Buy what you actually gravitate towards. Buy what, you know, really catches your eye, right? Don't buy it and go somewhere and be like, oh my god, no one clocked it. That to me is just not a good way of purchasing anything. It's not a good enough reason for me to like purchase things.
So if you're carrying it like this, like if you actually kind of like, hold on. Yeah. Like if you're like this carrying it, then it would obviously, I could be like, well, that's not a Birkin, right? But if you're carrying it like this, oh my God. Okay. If you're like this with it, maybe, yeah, there you go. You put this, yeah, this, yeah. Yes, bitch.
No, no,
Yes.
no.
Oh my god.
No,
Try to
no.
dangle. If you're holding it like this, no, they're blocking. Because they're not gonna be like, can you lift the flap, please, so I can see if it says Hermes pair?
No,
They're gonna ask you that.
no.
No, man.
No, no.
This is sickening. This is a game changer. Now the handles are nice. It has a little heft to it, especially when you put stuff in it.
No,
I got
even the stitches, because Hermes Birkins use these like very specific thick saddle stitches, right, on some of the bags. And the threads are really high quality. And people also forget the very tiny details, like how durable a thread is very important because over time, when your bag is wearing, if the thread is really terrible, it could literally rip. But if you use a high quality thread, so there's very tiny, minute details other than just like is it good leather or not? Or is the hardware good? Like, what is the lining like? Those kind of things.
feet at the bottom, and it came with like a little scarf that was so fake. The house I threw that away.
This is also a good point. The dupes are in the trash within a year or two, which once again, from a sustainability standpoint, is horrible for the environment, which is why going back to people saying that these are, I think someone asked me a question earlier about ethical dupes. I don't think any dupe can be ethical because if a dupe is made with horrible quality materials to the point where it will be in a landfill in 2 years, that's just terrible for everyone. So I don't see anything ethical about that. I think when it comes to the Hermes products, a question could be asked about, is it worth the price? But the ethics of it are fine, right? Of an Hermes Birkin, ethically, it's something that's made so well that it's going to last a really long time. And also the price means that people will treat it with more care and treat it with more respect. And another thing about Birkins is from a financial standpoint, it's an investment in a way because you can buy a Birkin today, 10 years from now, you can still sell it for a good price. You're not losing crazy amounts of money. And the price of the Birkin actually, let's say 10 years from now, would be so high that you could easily make a profit on your Birkin, probably. It's the same thing that people have done with the Chanel flat bags, right? So they bought it for like way cheaper prices 10 years ago and they're selling it now for a profit because the prices have increased so much that as someone who's buying it, you're like, well, I'm buying this secondhand bag for cheaper than it retails right now. And the seller is like, well, I'm selling it for more than I bought it 10 years ago. So everyone wins. So there's also an aspect of the actual financial investment side of it. There's also the aspect of sustainability, considering that the price will mean that people cherish it and people would always be in demand for it and it lives a longer life cycle. So I don't see how dupes can be ethical in that sense if they're made with, terrible fabrics. I don't understand that.
It's shipped from Walmart.com. I got it in about 4 days, and yeah, stitching is nice. Of course, I'm very messy. This is not bad. Like again, if you're wearing it like this with it connected, and maybe you could even like, if you wanted to, you can push these. Hold on, girl. Not me trying to. Like, I'll keep it real. This is all one take. If you were to do that, oh, duh, I'm so stupid. Like, there you go.
Oh my god, AZ is damn. Being a makeup artist, he's super cautious about the ingredients used in certain makeup, but then turning around and justifying buying that Walmart Birkin is hilarious. Humans and hypocrisy, damn. That's crazy, but you're right, to be honest. You are 100% correct. But I think I do this too. I think all of us are hypocrites, to be fair. I'm not just going to single one person out. I've definitely done things that are hypocritical in the past. I'm like, or my friends might point it out and I'm like, you know what? You're actually right. I think it's kind of like a human thing. It's like cognitive dissonance, right? We only see it from our perspective. Like, it's really weird, really, really strange. The real question is, when will the fast fashion slow down? I have no idea because, we're praising fast fashion dupes, essentially. So, I don't even know where we can go with that. Also, this is a good point about let's start with the scarf, because I think this creator said something about the scarf being terrible quality, so they just threw it out. Which, once again, when we're having the sustainability conversation, something that's so badly made that a customer literally had no use for it and just threw it out. That's insane.
This is not bad. Like, again, if you're wearing it like this with it connected, and maybe you could even, like, if you wanted to, you can push these. Hold on, girl. Not me trying to. Like, I'll keep it real. This is all one take. If you were to do that, let me see.
Wait.
Oh, duh, I'm so stupid. Like, you can, there you go. See how mine does that? You kind of like, you don't go like that. You just kind of like slide it in. But no, everyone who has a Birkin, they do this. They let it slouch over like little hands, and you can pull them in.
Even
So
from
it
the
snaps
sound,
back.
the sound is hurting my ears.
This is a Birkin to have. Straight up. They say fake it till you make it. I guess you're fake when you make it. Let me know what you think about that, the Walmart Birkin, in the comments down below. Now I've made this part of the video. Drop a heart emoji in the chat.
Interesting. Let's read some of the comments, guys. Someone said, how did it get so dirty? That's another thing, once again, about price. Like, when something costs that much, I guess people tend to not treat it as well. Oh yeah, people are calling the Walmart Birkin the workin. That's the new phrase, the workin. Someone saying nobody clocking it or Walmart Birkin is wild. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Someone said it looks cheap to me. Oh my gosh. And it actually sold out though. That's the crazy thing. It really sold out. It really, really sold out. That's so insane to me. That's so crazy. Vontae, I'm with you completely. Why buy fake things when you can buy upcoming brands with better quality than the real? I know. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's an obsession with a very specific thing and what it represents that people are chasing. Which is why I always question, like, when I see things like this, I have to bring into question, what is the reason why people are buying these things? Like, what is the rationale behind the purchase? You always have to bring that into question, right? I'm interested to see how the increase in accessible dupes will affect the market. To be honest, will something similar happen to when Burberry's reputation tanked among the UK public in the 2000s? Maybe, you know. And then, but do you know what's funny about this whole fake Birkin phenomenon, right? Because first of all, most of these like coveted, highly coveted bags, there have been fakes forever. Like, there have been fakes of Birkins forever. It's just interesting that these Walmart Birkins are like a massive, big thing online, right? But like, the timing of this whole Hermes PR situation could not have come at a better time. It's almost like they knew that the Walmart Birkin was about to go mainstream and they timed it to perfection, where, you know, Dumas had this whole amazing interview where he's talking about the craftsmanship and we don't have a marketing team, which I've debunked quite a lot of that on my Patreon. If you guys are on the Patreon, definitely watch my reaction to this exact video. But the PR of it, I think, is excellent because people are going to just refer back to this video and be like, well, it's not about, you know, just making a design. It's about craftsmanship. It's about artisans. It's about preserving a certain craft past a certain time, right? There's so many other things to consider other than just the actual bag and the aesthetic of the bag. So I think from a PR masterclass perspective, the timing of the Hermès 60 minutes video is just so good. Like, it's so good. Even though I feel like Dumas was lying through his teeth in the interview, and I've, like I said on Patreon, I've talked about all the stuff that I'm like, that doesn't really check out. That doesn't really make sense. But from a PR perspective, because most people don't know the things that I debunked, most people won't know that. Like, the average consumer won't know that. So most consumers, and if you read the comments of the video, everyone's like, oh my god, this is why we love Hermes and all that sort of stuff. People will never stop consumption or slow it down. Yeah, I just don't know why. It's really sad. People feel the need to like buy loads of things all the time. Working 9 to 5, what's a way to make make a living? It's okay if it's Birkin. The problem is that H&M, Zara, etc. love stealing designs from graduating students as well, whose identity is literally stolen this way. Yeah, 100%. And there's so many reasons why, you know, people have an issue with fast fashion, apart from just like the actual labor of it, like the kind of labor that they use and the exploitation that happens there, the working conditions of the workers that make the clothing, the actual fact that the garment quality on every aspect, from the lining to the fabrics to the threads, are all bad quality, and it's all going to end up in a landfill in no time. Another argument is also like how they take the lack of ethics from taking a designer that has no platform, barely makes any money, stealing their designs and making millions with someone else's idea. That so many bad ethics with that. There's just so many reasons. And it always goes into a conversation of, yeah, but what if people can't afford anything but fast fashion? And my rebuttal is always, if you buy secondhand, it's cheaper than fast fashion for better quality materials. Like if you go on the real, you can find Yoji Yamamoto, like authentic Yoji from years ago, $80, $60, like no joke. You can go into a charity shop and find authentic high quality garments for $3, $2. Like, so the whole price thing, I never understand it, or the affordability conversation, I never get it. Because it's like you can find better quality things for cheaper, which is why me personally, I've never felt the need to buy fast fashion things, especially not over the past 5 years, because to me, how I think of it is, well, I could just buy something secondhand that's way better and even cheaper. So it's confusing to me when people bring the whole, affordability thing. And then how affordable is it when most people overconsume, right? So even if you buy something from Shein for, let's say, $2, most people that buy stuff from Shein don't buy the one thing, they buy it in hauls. So they buy $40 worth of things from Shein, 20 different items. Most of them aren't going to be worn and they end up in a landfill. Who wins from that? Why not just buy one dress that you can wear over and over again for the same price that you bought those 20 Shein dresses? I remember we had people taking pictures in fake private jets so they could look rich on social media. I'm not shocked this Walmart Birkin is going crazy in the East Streets. Yeah, it's really strange. It's really strange. This is interesting. I don't like thrifting. I'm paranoid about the health and spiritual implications. It's different when it comes from family. I guess that's a very that's an interesting point of view in terms of, I definitely understand where you're coming from. But then obviously thrifting is one thing. You can go to things like sample sales, right? Where stuff is way cheaper. I've gone to certain brand sample sales and you can find like runway pieces, like jackets, $80. Like I've gone to sample sales where literally, and these are things that haven't been worn by anyone. These are just things that companies or brands cannot sell. So instead of selling it to the likes of TK Maxx or whatever, they have a sample sale and then they go like jackets, $80, t-shirts, $10, and these are like really high quality things, but the brands are just cutting their losses because they can't sell it. So even outside of, the whole secondhand clothing, there are so many other things that we can go back into that are still cheap, and actually long-term cheaper than buying from Shein or Temu or places like that. So it goes back to my point, when we talk about the affordability thing, there are so many alternatives. I feel like that's a lazy viewpoint. It's like you don't want to spend any time learning about, how you can find stuff that's good quality for cheaper, or you just don't want to contend with the moral implications. So by blocking your mind to it, just like, but those things aren't affordable anyway, so why would I care, type of thing. I think that's an easy cop-out, in my personal opinion. AZ says, does anyone else not think Coach bags are incredibly overpriced for what they are? I was genuinely shocked to see how much they retail for in comparison to other cooler brands. Yeah, I think Coach is like in the middle of the market. I think compared to the rest of the luxury market, if you think of the luxury landscape of people that wear bags, I think Coach sits in a good price point. I think their price proposition is a lot better than a lot of other brands. But is it still slightly overpriced? Yes. It's just less overpriced than a lot of other brands that make bags of a similar quality, which is why Coach, works. And Coach is very much, it's trendy right now because it sits very much within that whole putting charms on your bag obsession. And they were putting charms on the runway with the bags, and they were really pushing that idea. So I think Coach is definitely at the forefront of the current issues. But anyway, that's the whole thing with the fake Birkins, the Walmart Birkins, the obsessions with things that people trying to cosplay. Before I finish this and talk about Luigi Mangione, I think it'll be good to give Jay their flowers, because I think Jay had a really interesting take on this whole thing. So I'll put their video on, and follow Jay on Instagram, because I think Jay has really interesting takes. But I think Jay had a really good take on this whole thing.
This insane Walmart Birkin situation. I think it's so funny, and it's a great example of how like the public thinks they can co-opt status symbols to somehow like level the playing field. But the reality is that elite people will always find new ways to distinguish themselves. And then all it really does is actually just drive them to more like homogenous spaces where like their status isn't up for debate. It's one of the reasons why there are so many freaking members clubs popping up everywhere. And this isn't new. Like, this has literally happened throughout history. One of my favorite examples is about like being tan. So if you didn't know, before the Industrial Revolution, it was actually preferred to be as pale as possible. Like, you didn't want to be tan because it meant that you worked outside, you were a laborer. But after the Industrial Revolution, when everybody was working inside, being tan actually became a status symbol because it meant you had like leisure time. Like, that's why Coco Chanel wanted to be tan. This is just a reminder that the rules will always change in favor of who's at the top. Okay, let's talk about this insane Walmart Birkin situation. I think it's so
that
funny.
was a take which I thought was a really, really good take. So yeah, that's kind of those are my thoughts on the whole, Walmart's Birkin. There was a really good article that you guys should check out via Women's Wear Daily, where they were talking about the fact that Hermès could actually pursue a lawsuit, and they talk about kind of like some of the things that would actually happen if there was a lawsuit, and kind of what the intricacies of the actual lawsuit would entail. So once again, that's a big reason why they are pulling a lot of these dupes from Walmart, because I think they've realized themselves that if they're not careful, they might lose tons and tons of money, because, they don't want to get hit with that lawsuit. Let's be for real. Let's be for real, guys. Purple Rain says, I actually read about the difference between classes in a book. They've done studies in sociology about all of this. Oh, yeah, of course. This idea that, people at the top of class will constantly change their signifiers of wealth. And by the time it's co-opted by people of lower classes, they move on to the next thing. Yeah, that's a thing that has very much happened throughout human history. But that's also why it's very strange when people think that they can co-opt an aesthetic of what they deem is an aesthetic of a rich person. Because by the time you're doing that, people who are actually upper class would have adopted a different thing. Which is why, once again, going back to my initial point, that's why you should, as an individual, just be into what you're into and buy things or wear things because you like it, not because you are trying to signify wealth or do all these weird things that I don't agree with, like trying to signify wealth through the clothing that you wear. I just find it really strange. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.